One-on-one, the Neanderthal would crush you. So, how did a weaker ape win the whole planet? The answer was hiding in a seashell, 400 kilometers from the sea. Last time, we watched a weaker ape slip free from its own genes. Today, that gift faces its greatest test, a rival kind of human, the Neanderthal. Stronger, tougher, and built for the bitter cold. He even carried a brain as big as our own. One-on-one against him, it is not even close. In a straight fight, the Neanderthal would win almost every time. So how on earth did the weaker one win? Now change the numbers, 100 against 100. This time, the Sapiens win, easily. The secret was never muscle, it was teamwork. A lone hero is no match for a crowd that can plan. Neanderthals might talk, but only about the world they could see. Watch that river. There is good hunting over the hill. Useful, but limited. They could not speak of things that do not exist. No shared spirits. No shared tribe. No glue to bind the strangers. So they hunted in tiny bands and never truly joined forces. Their world stayed small, and it stayed the same. And the proof is buried right in the ground. Deep inside Europe, far from any coast, diggers found shells. Shells from the distant Mediterranean and the Atlantic, carried somehow 30,000 years ago. How did they get so impossibly far from the water? The answer is trade. Sapiens groups passing goods hand to hand. A shell from one tribe became a treasure in another far away. Now look at the Neanderthal sites instead. Every group used only what lay within arm's reach. No shells, no distant stone, no trade at all. And one stone tells the wildest story of all. On a tiny Pacific island lived an ancient group of sapiens. They made razor-sharp tools from a black volcanic glass. But their island held not a single piece of it. So where did the black glass possibly come from? From another island 400 kilometers across open ocean. Which means sailors crossed that sea just to trade. Imagine the courage that first crossing must have taken. They had no maps and no compass. Only trust and a shared story. Trade can look like a cold, practical thing, but no animal on Earth trades, except for us. Because real trade needs one fragile, invisible thing: trust. And trusting a complete stranger is incredibly hard. So how did strangers ever learn to trust? They leaned on a shared fiction, a common god, or sacred ancestors. Believe in the same story, and a stranger becomes a partner. Today, it is no different. We trust the dollar, the bank, the brand. Belief is what moved those shells and stones. And that trade did something no fight ever could. It pooled the knowledge of countless scattered groups. So sapiens grew far wiser than any lonely Neanderthal band. Every trade carried not just goods, but ideas. And nowhere did that wisdom matter more than the hunt. The Neanderthal hunted alone or in a tiny group. Brave, but slow and dangerous. The sapiens did something far cleverer. Dozens of them, sometimes whole separate bands, joined the same hunt. They surrounded an entire herd of wild animals and drove them step by step toward a narrow pass. There, the traps snapped shut. In a single day, they won tons of meat, hides, and fat. Enough to dry like jerky or freeze in the winter snow, while the Neanderthal still chased one beast at a time. The Neanderthals watched their land slip away. They were not happy to see their hunting grounds taken, but there was nothing they could do. In any real clash with sapiens, they were bound to lose. And even if the Neanderthals won a single battle, the sapiens would simply invent a new plan and win the war. Raw muscles simply could not keep pace with imagination. So let us gather up the whole story so far. First, sapiens could share rich detail about the world around them. Avoid that lion. Hunt the big game just over there. Second, they could gossip endlessly about one another. And so their group swelled, all the way to a 150. Third, and strangest of all, they could speak of pure fiction. Tribal spirits, nations, companies, human rights. This last gift let countless strangers cooperate as one, and it let them change their ways faster than any gene ever could. 3 little powers, 1 unstoppable ape. So the Great War was never really decided by muscle. It was decided by a story and the trust that story could build. Invisible bonds had proven stronger than the mightiest arm. A humble seashell carried far from its sea, and a black stone ferried across the open ocean were the fingerprints of a brand new kind of power. The power of strangers believing the same invisible things, working as one. This is the day a talkative ape quietly inherited the earth. But our story is only just beginning. Soon, a brand new revolution will sweep across the whole world, one that promises endless plenty but hides a heavy price. We will ask whether it truly freed us or quietly trapped us. That is the story waiting in the very next chapter. For now, remember the little shell, far from any sea. A weaker ape, armed with nothing but a story, had won the world. So the greatest war in our history was not won by muscle. It was won by a story and the trust that story could build between total strangers. Think about how strange that really is. The Neanderthal was stronger, faster, and just as smart one-on-one, but he could only ever trust the handful of faces he knew. We learned to trust a stranger we had never met simply because we shared the same gods, the same ancestors, the same invisible promises. A shell carried far inland, a stone ferried across the open ocean, were the quiet fingerprints of that power. The power of strangers, believing the same invisible things and working together as one. That is how a weaker, talkative ape quietly inherited the entire earth, while every stronger cousin slowly faded away. But our story is only just beginning. Soon a brand new revolution will sweep the world, promising us endless plenty, while hiding a very heavy price indeed. Next time, we ask the hard question, did it truly set us free, or did it quietly trap us all? If you enjoyed this journey, share it with one curious friend, and I will see you in the next episode.